At 158,000 miles per hour, a ghost from another star system slices through our solar neighborhood. It's named 3I Atlas, the third confirmed interstellar object ever detected. But something is different. Instruments across Earth and orbit are capturing brief, inexplicable flashes of light near its trajectory, patterns that no known natural process can easily explain. The data suggests chaos. The silence suggests purpose. At the edge of the solar system, 3I Atlas entered unseen, a fragment of the unknown moving faster than any comet born of the sun. At nearly 158,000 miles per hour, it sliced through the Kuiper expanse like a shard of light breaking through ancient darkness. Telescopes first mistook it for a transient comet, but the numbers refused to fit. Its eccentricity exceeded 1, its orbit unbound, proving that this traveler came not from within, but from beyond. An interstellar visitor, crossing the gulf between stars. Discovered in late 2024 by the Asteroid Terrestrial Impact Last Alert System, Atlas's signature defied expectations. No icy coma, no gas jets, just a small metallic glint, reflecting sunlight like a polished mirror tumbling through infinity. Astronomers compared it to Oumuamua, the first interstellar object ever detected, and to 2I Borisov, the second. But this one was different. Its light curve didn't match any known rotation pattern. Its brightness flickered not randomly, but rhythmically. Night after night, telescopes from Chile to Hawaii recorded the same irregular dance of photons. Each flare lasted only milliseconds, repeating at intervals that seemed almost deliberate. At first, the explanation was mundane. Perhaps sunlight scattering off an irregular surface, or fragments breaking free and reflecting light back toward Earth. But deeper analysis revealed an unsettling regularity. The flashes recurred with mechanical precision, separated by fixed intervals of time. The object's albedo, its reflectivity, suggested an unusual composition, possibly metallic or composite, unlike the carbonaceous or silicate-rich material of comets and asteroids. Its small size, roughly 45 to 60 meters across, made it even stranger. At that scale, natural objects rarely produce consistent photometric signals. Yet here was one broadcasting them across the solar void. Instruments aboard the James Webb Space Telescope briefly captured a thermal signature inconsistent, with simple reflection, a faint emission spike in the infrared, as though energy was being absorbed and re-radiated in pulses. Astronomers debated endlessly. Was this a fractured body tumbling in sunlight or something more structured, perhaps hollow, layered, engineered by forces unknown? Beyond its scientific oddity lay a deeper question. What does it mean when something alien passes silently through our sky? Humanity had long stared outward, imagining contact. Yet here, drifting past unnoticed by most, was a genuine piece of another star system, perhaps older than our sun itself. And within its erratic heartbeat of light, some saw pattern. Weeks later, as observation networks synchronized across hemispheres, the truth became harder to ignore. The flashes were not chaotic. They followed a measurable cadence, and that cadence impossibly repeated with a constancy no natural body had ever shown. 47 seconds. That was the rhythm that shattered certainty. In the quiet data streams of observatories across 3 continents, a repeating pattern emerged. Bursts of light from the void, each separated by an interval of precisely 47 seconds. At first it appeared to be random noise, a flicker of cosmic dust, a sensor anomaly, a miscalibrated telescope mirror. But the repetition persisted. 12 nights of continuous observation confirmed it. The flashes were real, and they were coming from 3I Atlas, the interstellar visitor racing through the solar system. Each burst blazed with a brief optical intensity that suggested reflection, yet not of sunlight scattered off a tumbling rock. The angles were too consistent, the energy curve too deliberate. When scientists modeled its motion, the data broke the rules of ordinary rotation. The flashes didn't match any natural tumbling frequency. Instead, they followed a non-linear reflective geometry, as if some part of its surface adjusted to the sun's light, changing with intention rather than chance. The Hubble Space Telescope was reoriented to confirm the anomaly. In its high-resolution spectra, faint emission peaks appeared near 630 nanometers, wavelengths not typically associated with dust, ice, or silicate minerals. They aligned more closely with engineered alloys, metallic composites forged under controlled conditions, not the chaotic violence of asteroid formation. For a moment, astronomers hesitated to say what they were seeing. To claim a thing was unnatural, demanded extraordinary proof. But every new dataset deepened the riddle. Theorists filled whiteboards with possibilities. Some proposed fracturing ice layers, a crystalline crust breaking under thermal stress as the object neared the sun. Others suggested trapped pockets of volatile gas venting rhythmically through cracks. But spectroscopy refuted both. There were no water bands, no emission of volatiles, no trace of sublimation, no cometary behavior at all. The body was silent and inert, except for the light that pulsed from it like a coded heartbeat. Across the electromagnetic spectrum, the search widened. Radio observatories, from Arecibo's archival feeds to the Allen Telescope Array, began logging narrowband fluctuations coinciding exactly with the optical intervals. The bursts lasted less than a second, thin and precise, like a staccato whisper against the static hum of the cosmos. Then they vanished. For 12 nights, light and radio sang together, in harmony across the void. Then both went dark. The object continued on its hyperbolic path, untouched, unresponsive, indifferent. Yet the silence that followed seemed almost deliberate, as if something had chosen to stop transmitting once it had been noticed. The community split. To some, the signals were coincidence, an illusion born from overlapping noise. To others, they hinted at an intelligence embedded not in voice, but in physics itself. Could a fragment of matter, forged beyond another sun, carry within it the remnants of a message? Could the flickers of 3I Atlas be a signature, a form of communication written in light? As the object receded further from Earth's orbit, telescopes strained to regain contact. No further flashes appeared, no echoes returned. Only data remained, a pattern carved in photons, stubbornly repeating at the same impossible interval. Atop a remote Chilean plateau, under skies so clear that galaxies burn visible to the naked eye, a new observatory was coming online. The Vera C. Rubin Observatory, designed to capture the entire southern sky every few nights, was still in its calibration phase when it first caught sight of 3I Atlas. Its detectors recorded microbursts of light, flashes lasting less than a millisecond, flickering across multiple frames like Morse code written in photons. For most objects, such noise would be dismissed as cosmic rays striking the sensors. But this was no random interference. The bursts lined up perfectly with the recorded trajectory of the interstellar object. Elsewhere in the inner solar system, the Parker Solar Probe, a spacecraft engineered to graze the sun's outer atmosphere, was monitoring the solar wind when it registered something strange. Faint electromagnetic ripples, synchronous with the timing of Atlas's optical bursts, pulsed through the plasma around it. The probe's instruments, shielded from Earth's radio noise, confirmed that the signals were real and coherent. Two separate machines, millions of kilometers apart, had captured the same rhythm emanating from a visitor beyond the stars. Soon, the global scientific network reacted in unison. Observatories across continents synchronized their clocks to the microsecond. The European Space Agency coordinated with Caltech's Infrared Processing and Analysis Center to cross-correlate the light curves. The data sets overlapped with astonishing precision. The pattern was binary, alternating bright and dim intervals, forming a symmetrical sequence that resisted statistical randomness. What emerged on the graphs looked less like nature's chaos and more like architecture. Theorists scrambled to contain the implications. Could this be a new form of solar reflection, modulated by shape alone? Could the object possess faceted surfaces rotating in perfect resonance with sunlight? Yet even the most complex simulations failed to recreate the observed uniformity. Fracture glints were inconsistent. Cosmic ray spikes lacked coherence. Plasma arcs decayed too quickly. Nature, in all her variety, had never drawn a waveform so exact. Then came the deeper discovery, when the photometric intervals were converted into binary notation. Light for 1, silence for 0. The sequence displayed recursive symmetry, a repeating digital motif buried in analog space. It was as though the object wasn't just reflecting light, it was encoding it. Teams hesitated to release their findings publicly. The word artificial hung like a shadow over every conference call, unspoken but inevitable. The data itself did not lie. The question was how to interpret it without stepping into speculation. Could random physics produce something that mimicked intent? Or had humanity just intercepted a fragment of extraterrestrial structure, drifting between stars? As decoding algorithms ran deeper, the pulses revealed another layer. Minute amplitude variations corresponding to rhythmic oscillations, beating at an interval too organic to ignore. Across the graphs, peaks rose and fell with the slow regularity of a pulse. In a windowless control room in Manchester, a wall of oscillating data filled the screens at Jodrell Bank Observatory. What appeared at first as random flickers of starlight had now taken on the cadence of something deliberate, a binary rhythm pulsing through the dark. For weeks, the world's most powerful observatories had been gathering the same pattern, a light sequence from 3I Atlas, repeating with unbroken precision. The deeper analysts dug, the less likely randomness seemed. Through the lens of Fourier analysis, the pulses began to resolve into structure. Statistical noise gave way to order, repeating clusters that aligned with prime number intervals, 2, 3, 5, 7, 11, the first 5 prime integers, separated by mathematically perfect gaps. A sequence that nature almost never writes on her own. To human logic, it was unmistakable, intentionality hidden within light. Across laboratories and universities, the data became an obsession. Teams from NASA, the European Space Agency, and Japan's NAOJ synchronized their instruments to record every microsecond of the flicker. They reconstructed entire trains of pulses, stretching over minutes, mapping luminosity and amplitude with atomic accuracy. And what emerged was a message written not in words but in ratios, timing, and frequency, a silent dialogue between mathematics and the cosmos itself. Yet as 3I Atlas approached perihelion, the point nearest to the Sun, the transmissions began to fade. Solar radiation flooded detectors with background noise. The light weakened, intervals stretched, and the once crisp signal blurred into the chaos of electromagnetic interference. The visitor seemed to be withdrawing, its voice dimming under the solar glare. Then, in a final act of clarity, NASA's Deep Space Network caught one last perfect sequence. 19 minutes of structured optical pulses, 19 minutes of deliberate symmetry, then silence. The transmission ceased at 0.8 astronomical units, roughly the distance between the Sun and Venus. No further signals followed. Within days, 3I Atlas disappeared behind the solar limb, never to be observed again. The telescopes turned back to empty coordinates. Only the data remained. The scientific community fractured under the weight of interpretation. To skeptics, the phenomenon was a statistical artifact, a misread of natural resonance or sunlight modulated by tumbling geometry. To others, it was a form of interstellar engineering, the first tangible evidence of an intelligence beyond Earth, coded into the physics of light. Debates raged across journals and conferences. Could a fragment of alien technology drift between stars, still broadcasting after eons of isolation? Could mathematics itself be the universal language of contact? The mystery deepened when independent researchers discovered harmonics in the residual data, faint sub-patterns nested within the prime sequences, as though the message contained layers yet to be uncovered. The world's telescopes scanned the void, long after the object vanished. But the darkness yielded nothing. Atlas had slipped beyond the Sun's gravity, accelerating outward on its infinite arc, returning to the interstellar night. Still, the pattern endured, imprinted in data archives across the planet, replayed in endless loops by machines and minds that refused to let go. A cosmic fingerprint, a whisper encoded in light. It began as a whisper, a flicker buried deep in the noise floor of archived telemetry. Months after 3I Atlas had vanished into the interstellar dark, a young analyst at a deep space monitoring station in Western Australia noticed something impossible. A faint repetition of light intervals, mathematically precise, hauntingly familiar. The prime number pulse sequence once traced to 3I Atlas had returned, but this time it came from a different part of the sky. At first it was dismissed as cross-contamination, a data echo from an earlier calibration file. Yet as independent observatories re-examined their feeds, the pattern held. The same intervals, The same rhythm. 2, 3, 5, 7, 11. Identical spacing. Identical decay. Across frequencies and hemispheres, the pulse repeated with statistical precision, too sharp for coincidence. In the sterile hum of supercomputers and vacuum-sealed laboratories, scientists confronted a staggering question. Had the cosmos just spoken again? Theories bloomed and fractured overnight. One camp proposed an elegant, almost poetic hypothesis, that 3 Atlas was not an isolated wanderer, but part of something larger. A network of autonomous artifacts, scattered through the galactic void, each one a transmitter in a silent interstellar web. Machines without masters, carrying information older than the solar system itself. To them, the pulses were not a message in the human sense, but a heartbeat of cosmic infrastructure, maintaining synchrony across unimaginable distances. Others resisted the allure of interpretation. They warned that humanity's pattern-seeking instinct was its greatest bias. Perhaps this was no message at all, but an undiscovered astrophysical phenomenon, a resonance between light and matter, triggered under rare electromagnetic conditions. Plasma sheath interactions, polarized reflections, or quantum coherence effects within interstellar dust. Natural, extraordinary, and entirely impersonal. The universe, after all, does not owe humanity its meaning. Still, the numbers would not relent. Fourier maps showed harmonic ratios nested within the sequence, scaling fractally, as if each pulse contained the shadow of a deeper algorithm. No known natural process produced such structured redundancy. The recurrence probability, less than 1 in 1026. To a species built on mathematics, the result felt intimate, almost addressed. As debate turned philosophical, engineers began searching for more. Arrays in Chile, Australia, and South Africa shifted their coordinates toward the new source region, a dim star field between Pisces and Cetus. Detections were faint, intermittent, but unmistakable. The signature of order woven into randomness, and then, just as abruptly as it appeared, the pattern faded. The data streams fell silent. Only a few seconds of clean signal remained, archived in terabytes of static. Enough to confirm, never enough to explain. In conference halls and online forums, silence became its own kind of presence. The question lingered like gravity. Was this coincidence or contact? The thought of a cosmic network alive in the dark both terrified and entranced the human imagination. In the stillness beyond the heliosphere, the solar wind carried its whisper outward, joining the endless current between stars. Somewhere, another pulse might already be traveling toward Earth, its meaning buried in the mathematics of light.